The Bavand dynasty, or simply the Bavandids, was an Iranian dynasty that ruled in parts of Tabaristan in what is now northern Iran from 651 until 1349, alternating between outright independence and submission as vassals to more powerful regional rulers. Origins. The dynasty itself traced its descent back to Bavand, who was alleged to be a grandson of the Sasanian prince Qaboos, brother of Khosrau I, and son of the Shah Kavad I, who supposedly fled to Tabaristan from the Muslim conquest of Persia. He rallied the locals around him, repelled the first Arab attacks, and reigned for 15 years until he was murdered by a certain Valash, who ruled the country for 8 years. The scholar J. Marquardt, however, proposed an alternative identification of the legendary Bavand with the late 6th century Zoroastrian priest from Ray. P. Pushariata, in her re-examination of late Sasanian history, asserts that this Bavand is a conflation of several members of the powerful house of Isfahan. Bawi, his grandson Vistam and his great-nephew Farrukhzad. She also reconstructs the events of the middle 7th century as a civil war between two rival clans, the Isfahan and Valash's house of Karan. Before the Dabayad, Farrukh Khan the Great conquered Tabaristan and subdued the various local leaders to vassalage. The Dabayad house then ruled Tabaristan until the Abbasids subdued the region in 760. History. It is at the time after the Abbasid conquest that the Bavandids enter documented history, with Shaman I, in later tradition, accounted the great-grandson of Surkab. The dynasty is commonly divided into 3 major branches. The Qayasiyya, named after Qais ibn Qubad, the Arabicized name of the family's legendary ancestor Qaboos, son of Kavad, which ruled from 665 until 1006, when the family's rule was ended by Qaboos ibn Washmaga. Several members of the family continued to rule in various localities thereafter, giving rise to the second line, the Isfahaniya, in 1073. Their capital was Seri, and their rule extended over Gilan, Ray and Kumus as well as Tabaristan. Although they were mostly vassals of the Seljuks and later of the Khwarezm Shahs, the line was ended in 1210 with the murder of Rustam V, and the Khwarezm Shah Muhammad II took over direct control of the region. The third line, or Kinakoria, was established in 1237 following the Mongol invasions and the widespread anarchy that prevailed, and lasted, as a vassal of the Mongols, until the final end of the dynasty in 1349. Qayasiyya line. Following the demise of the Dabayads, 2 major local dynasties were left in Tabaristan: the Bavandids in the eastern mountains and the Qarinids, who also appropriated the heritage of the Dabayad rulers, in the central and western mountain ranges. Both claimed Sasanian origin and titulature, with the Bavandids styling themselves as kings of Tabaristan, and, like the Qarinids, claiming the title of Isfahan. Shahwin, along with the Qarinid ruler Vandid Hormozd, led the native resistance to Muslim rule in the efforts at Islamization and settlement begun by the Abbasid governor, Khalid ibn Barmak. Following his departure, the native princes destroyed the towns he had built in the highlands, and although in 781 they affirmed loyalty to the Caliphate, in 782 they launched a general anti-Muslim revolt that was not suppressed until 785, when Said al-Harashi led 40,000 troops into the region. Relations with the caliphal governors in the lowlands improved thereafter, but the Bavandid and Qarinid princes remained united in their opposition to Muslim penetration of the highlands, to the extent that they prohibited even the burial of Muslims there. Isolated acts of defiance like the murder of a tax collector occurred, but where the 2 princes were summoned before Harun al-Rashid in 805, they promised loyalty and the payment of a tax, and were forced to leave their sons behind as hostages for 4 years. After his death in 817, Shirvan was succeeded by his grandson, Shahryar, who managed to evict the Qarin Mazyar from his own realm. Mazyar fled to the court of the Caliph al-Ma'mun, became a Muslim, and in 822-23 returned with the support of the Abbasid governor to exact revenge. Shahryar's son and successor, Shapur, was defeated and killed, and Mazyar united the highlands under his own rule. His growing power brought him into conflict with the Muslim settlers at Amul, but he was able to take the city and receive acknowledgement of his rule over all of Tabaristan from the caliphal court. Eventually, however, he quarreled with Abdullah ibn Tahir, and in 839, he was captured by the Tahirids, who now took over control of Tabaristan. The Bavandids exploited the opportunity to regain their ancestral lands. Shapur's brother, Karan assisted the Tahirids against Mazyar, and was rewarded with his brother's lands and royal title. In 842, he converted to Islam. This period saw the rapid Islamization of the native population of Tabaristan. Although the majority accepted Sunni Islam, Shi'ism also spread, especially in Amul and the neighboring areas of Asterabad and Gurgan. Thus, in 864, Azadi Alad, Hassan ibn Zayd, was invited to Tabaristan, and with support from the Daylamites took over control of the province. The Bavandids remained steadfastly opposed to the Alad dynasty throughout its existence, and Karan's grandson Rustam I was to pay with his life for this. In 895, the Alad supporter Rafi ibn Hathamar tortured him to death. The Sunni Samanids drove out the Alads in 900, but in 914 a relative of Hassan ibn Zayd, Hassan al-Utrush, managed to drive out the Samanids, restore Alad control over the province, and force even the Bavandids and Karinids to accept his rule. The history of the Bavandis is detailed in the works of Ibn Isfandar and Marashi, which belong to the genre of local histories that gained popularity in Iran after 1000 AD. We know that they were related to the Ziyarid dynasty, through the marriage of Mardan Shah, the father of Ziyar, to the daughter of one of the Bavandi kings. The prominence of the Bavandi kings apparently continued throughout the Seljuk and Mongol period. One of their greatest kings, Shah Ghazi Rustam V, is reported to have seriously defeated the Ismailis, who were gaining prominence in Tabaristan, and to have made significant progress in consolidating power in the Caspian provinces. After the Mongol conquest, the Bavandis continued to rule as local strongmen of Tabaristan and sometimes Dalam. Their power was finally brought down around 1350 when Khia Afrajayab of the Afrajayab dynasty, themselves an offshoot of the Bavandis, managed to kill Hassan II of Tabaristan, the last of the mainline Bavandi kings. Bavandid rulers: Qazia Farrukhzad, Valash, Surkab Mich Armadan, Surkab II, Shawan I, Shahryar I, Shapur, rule by the Qarin Mazyar, Karan I, Rustam I, Shawan II, Shahryar II, Rustam II, Al-Marzubin, Shawan III, Shahryar III, Al-Marzubin, Shahryar III, Al-Marzubin, Abu Jafar Muhammad, Karan II, Isbabariya Shahryar IV, Karan III, Rustam III, Ali I, Shah Ghazi Rustam IV, Hassan I, Ardashir I, Rustam V, King Korea Ardashir II, Muhammad, Ali II, Yazdagerd, Shahryar V, K. Khusraw ibn Yazdagerd, Sharaf al-Muluk, Hassan II,